Good day, grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's economics lesson. My name is Mr. Berry. This lesson is brought to you by the Northern Cape Department of Education in collaboration with Pagama Research and Development. Good day again, grade 12. Today, our knowledge area will be on macroeconomics, paper 1, revision. We are going to revise paper 1 for your prelim examination. The lesson objective: by the end of the day, learners should be able to answer prelim examination paper, anything that has to do with circular flow on section A and B. What we're going to use today is previous question paper to attack section A and B. So by the end of the lesson, when it comes to circular flow, the question that you'll find in question 2, which is your macroeconomics, where there's circular flow, you must be able to master that. If circular flow comes as an essay question in question 5, you must be able to master that as well. Also on section B, question 4, you can find circular flow there. And obviously on your section A, multiple choice or terminology or matching of the columns, they can assess you on circular flow as well. The pre-knowledge from this grade 12, at the beginning of the year, you did circular flow. This is taken from your examination guideline. 1.1 of your examination guideline, it's circular flow. We discussed the open economy circular flow, where we looked at equations and markets. Here we looked at what is circular flow, the diagram that shows production, expenditure, and income of a country. That was the closed circular flow, where you only have businesses, household, government. Then the open economy, you also included the foreign sector. Then you discussed leakages, you discussed injections. That is after you discuss the participants, all the 4 participants in an economy, which is your circular, your household, government, business, and the foreign sector. That is an open economy. And then you spoke of the flows that you have there, the real flow, the money flow, the real flow being the flow of goods and services, the money flow being the flow of income and expenditure, right? And then you mentioned that there are leakages and there are injections. Leakages mean your withdrawal of money from the economy. You spoke of injection as an introduction of money into the economy. And then you said to have economic equilibrium, leakages must be equal to injections. Then you moved to doing markets, where you discussed the 4 markets that you find. And in a circular flow diagram, there are 2 markets that you learned about in grade 10, which is the product market and the factor market. However, this year we learned 4 markets that take part of our essay. So the first essay that you did this year was discussing in detail the markets in a circular flow. The 4 markets being your product market, also known as a good market, factor market, financial market, and the foreign exchange market. So that was the long question. You also moved to 1.2 of your examination guideline, where you did national aggregates. When you're speaking of national aggregates, we speak of the national totals, right? The national account totals, your GDP, right? So GDP was the total production of a country within a year. You have 3 ways to calculate GDP: the expenditure, income, and production. Also, we spoke of national conversion, how to move from GDP to GNP or GNI. We had your GDE, from GDE in an expenditure method, moving to the GDP. All of these things, grade 12, you must not panic. It's just a reminder of the things that you have done. We are going to look at questions that are answering the same thing that I'm mentioning here. So this is just a summary of the pre-knowledge, the things that you've done in the classroom. And then we moved to the multiplier. Here we're talking about money multiplying, when one person spending resulting into someone else's income. We even did the calculation. We did it in a graph. We presented it in a graph. and then we did the multiplier effect to see what is the effect when a person is spending the actual small spending resulting in a large national income. Also, this will be answered throughout the lesson when we are doing question. So this is your circular flow. We are going to do questions around the same unit. Right, let's look at our assessment plan for 2024. So your paper one, it's out of 150, is 2 hours. Your paper one, it consists of two main topics, which is the macroeconomics. Macroeconomics has circular flow, business cycle, public sector, foreign exchange market. So you see circular flow is in red there. So the question that we are going to be answering today are around circular flow. So we are going to revise all this unit under the main topic separately so that you are able to master all four of them when you prepare for your prelim. And then the other main topic is your economic pursuit. You have protectionism and free trade, economic growth and development, regional development, economic and social indicators. Grade 12, these topics, you are familiar with all of them because they are there on your examination guideline and on your annual teaching plan. So you are familiar with the topics. What we're going to be doing is to revise on the same thing that you know. So this is how your paper one looks like. It has macroeconomics and the economic pursuit as your main topics. The structure of your paper will look like this. Each paper will be consisting of 150. When I'm saying each paper, you have paper one and paper two. The duration of the paper is 2 hours. It has 6 questions divided in 3 sections. Section A, B, C. Learners should only answer 4 questions. Section A is compulsory. And then you have section B, you answer only 2 questions. So section B, it will be question 2, 3, 4. You only answering 2. And in section C, you answer 1 question out of the 2 questions. Between question 5 and 6, you answer 1 question. So for your 150 marks, you must answer 4 questions. Section A is 30 marks, which is your multiple choice, matching columns, and terminology. Section B is 2 that you are answering out of 40 marks each, giving you 80 marks. Section C, you choose 1, which is 40 marks. So when you add the 80 plus 40 plus the 30, you get your 150 marks. Right, so this is how section A look like. Section A, you have 1.1, which is 16 marks, have 8 questions, each is 2 marks. You have all the questions being assessed for macroeconomics and economic pursuit. So 4 of them come from macroeconomics and the other 4 come from economic pursuit. And then 1.2 is matching items, matching A and B. Also is 8 questions. However, this one is 1 mark. And then 4 questions will be from macroeconomics. So 1 question can be from circular flow, the other business cycle, the other one public sector, foreign exchange, and then the other one from economic pursuit, protectionism and free trade, economic growth and development. So each unit can have 1 question there. 1.3 is your description. You don't like answering this one. However, you need to start answering this. Do not leave empty spaces. Right, so this one is 6 questions, 1 each, and then 3 they are from macroeconomics, 3 they are from economic pursuit. And on this 1.3, you are not allowed to write GDP. If the answer is GDP, you must write it in full to say gross domestic product. On question 1, you are not allowed to shorten any answer. Section B, you have question 2 to 4. You are only answering 1 question here. So it's either you're answering 2 and 3, 3 and 4, or 2 and 4. You only choose 2 questions. How do they look like? Question 2, it's only macroeconomics. So question 2 is only asking you questions around macroeconomics. So you are expecting to see secular flow, business cycle, public sector, and foreign exchange on question 2. Question 3, it's only economic pursuit. So the question that you will see there is from protectionism and free trade, economic growth and development, regional development, and economic and social indicators. Grade 12, I'm going to repeat. So on question 2, it's only macroeconomics units. On question 3, it's only economic pursuit. So before you go to the examination, already you have an idea that if you are mastering macroeconomics, you are going to answer question 2. If you are mastering economic pursuit, you are going to answer question 3. However, when it goes to question 4, it's a mixture of both macroeconomic and economic pursuit. What does this mean? Even if you're saying you are going to prioritize macroeconomics, when you get to question 4, you'll be forced to answer some things on economic pursuit, same as question 1. Question 1 is 30 marks, 15 is from the economic pursuit, 15 is from the macroeconomics. So you need to have information or to revise both chapters. However, you can be mastering one to say when you get to exam, you'll be mastering macroeconomics, but you must not neglect the economic pursuit as well. Right, so your section B will look like this, where you see 2.1, it represents both 2.1, 3.1, and 4.1. So for 2.1, you are having the first question is the question for 2 marks. Usually they say to you, name, list, that is your 2.1.1, 3.1.1, and 4.1.1, where you get your easy marks. And then you have 2.1.2, same with 3 and 4. Here you are asked a middle order question where you are asked how, why, what. It's also for 2 marks. So 2.1, it has 4 marks. Then 2.2 to 2.3, also 3.3 to 3.3, 4.2 to 4.3. Right. You have data response questions. So you are given a picture, an extract, or a graph. Then you are asked question out of 10 marks. Your question will be 1, 1, 2, 2, 4. Right, so it's 10 marks. It's 1, 1, 2. 1, 1, 2. Those are your easy marks, grade 12. The first question will ask you to list. The second question is to name for 1, 1. And then the third question of your data response is always asking you to describe. The beauty of economics is that we are not defining. So you don't have to say exactly the term from a textbook. You need to describe how you understand that concept. They will say to you, describe the term gross domestic product. So you're going to describe it how you remember it. So those are your 4 easy marks for all your data response. For your data response, you are always given 4 easy marks. It's the first, the second, and the third question, right? And then the fourth question, it becomes a bit middle order where they are asking you the what, the how. And then the fifth question, which is 4 marks, that one usually it is a higher order question where you need to start reasoning, right? So for both question 2, 3, 4, you are having 2 data response questions for 10 marks. And you have 2.4 and 2.5. Or you can say 3.4, 4.4, also 3.5, 4.5. Your 2.4 question, your 0.4 question is a middle order question where you are asked to explain, to discuss, to distinguish, to differentiate. So this information is from the textbook. They can ask you to distinguish between the real flow and the money flow. So it's also an easy question because you don't have to think here. You just take the information from the textbook, what we have learned in the classroom. Then the 2.5 question is now a higher order question. This one you can't find the answer as it is from the textbook. You are required to critically think because you are asked how, why, evaluate the success of the effect of that. Now in this question, you need to do what? You need to reason. It's a higher order question. So for you to answer this question, you must be able to reason. So that is your 2.5, 3.5, and 4.5. So grade 12, this is how our section B will look like in our prelim. Right, and then you have your section C, where you are only having question 5 and 6. Question 5, grade 12, will be your macroeconomics. So we have identified about 6 essays in the macroeconomics. Those will be revised as well, not on today's lesson. Going forward, when we are revising paper 1, we'll be doing those essays. So we have 6 essays that are identified for question 5 from macroeconomics. Also, question 6, your essay will be from the economic pursuit. How to score marks in section A? For 1.1, the multiple choice question, make sure that you write the most correct answer. Avoid writing A or B on your answer. We are going to get wrong. You must choose one. It's A or B. Avoid leaving empty spaces. Avoid doing guesswork. It's not guesswork, it's a content. So for you to revise this, use your mind the gap, use your textbook, use your previous question papers. So with this one, usually you have 1.1, there's a question. Then you are given A, B, C, D. So usually 2 questions are totally wrong. So you need to eliminate. If A and D are wrong, eliminate A and D. Then you are left with C and B. One of them is the most correct one. After eliminating these 2, then you'll have what? The most correct one. So try to eliminate the wrong answers first. For 1.2, you are matching columns. So the easy way for you to get marks is to start with what? Column B. Read the statement. After reading the statement, now the statement says to you the relationship between unemployment and inflation. Already you're thinking Phillips curve. So it's easy for you to move from this is B, this is A. Column A is a statement, a full sentence, a full sentence, a full sentence. Here is a term, a term, a term. It's easy for you to read this sentence, finish reading the sentence. Now they say the relationship between inflation and unemployment. Now you're thinking Phillips curve. You quickly browse here. Where you find Phillips curve? Oh, yeah. So it means for this number 1.2.3, the answer is A. Then you read the next sentence, then you can find the answer. Instead of you reading a term here, then coming to column B, reading all this sentence, trying to find the answer for the term. So to save time, read the description, then find the term. That will save you time in the examination. For 1.3, for you to score marks, now because you are doing macroeconomics, you need to revise your terms on macroeconomics. Also economic pursuit. Remember, question 1 include both macro and economic pursuit. Using what? Your textbook, question papers, and mind the gap. Avoid abbreviating your answer. Write it in full. Do not leave question unanswered. How to choose the best answer in section B? That 4 mark, the first 4 mark where you're asked to list, it's an icebreaker. So if you can list 2 injections, doesn't mean you have to choose that question. Go to your 8 mark question. See if you can score more marks between question 2, 3, 4. Where you can score more marks, you choose that question because 8 plus 8 is 16 marks. So out of the 40 marks on that section B question, you already have 16 marks. So always go with the question where you can score more marks when it comes to your 8 mark question. That will be the best thing to do. And also read your data response question and the data and try to see where you can score more marks. Section C, before you go to your exam, already you have identified either you are going to answer on macroeconomics or economic pursuit. Which essay have you mastered more? You need to know the headings. By knowing the headings from the examination guideline, you can score about 8 marks, maximum marks from headings and examples. So if you have mastered essays on macroeconomics, you know, for secular flow, you have 4 headings, which is your factor market, financial market, foreign exchange market, and product market. By just writing those headings, already you are having a mark. Right, so this is the essay that was identified from your examination guideline in secular flow. It says discuss in detail the markets within the 4-sector model. So these are the markets that we'll discuss when we are doing this essay for secular flow. So grade 12, I mentioned that macroeconomics, it has 6 essays. So this is the first one that was identified. It's one of the possible question on what? Your question 5 on section C. So all of them, there are 6. This is the first one. Right now, grade 12, since we spoke of the structure of your paper, now we're gonna move to the questions that are covering secular flow. I'll be giving you time so that you are answering before we look at the answers. So for section A, you'll be given 10 minutes to complete the entire section A, then we'll mark after that. So you'll be given 10 minutes to complete section A, then we'll mark together. Your 10 minutes will start now. You write, then after that we'll be doing correction. You may start writing. Right, grade 12, your 10 minutes is done. Let's look at the possible answers. 1.1.1, the type of consumption of household spending which is independent of income is your autonomous consumption. Autonomous consumption does not depend on income. It's spending that does not depend on income. So you can be spending from your savings or loan. That is autonomous consumption. Remember what I said to you, eliminate. So if I look at this question, C and D, they are totally wrong. We don't have that fixed consumption or sample consumption. We spoke of induced consumption and autonomous. And then you need to remember that induced consumption is the one that depends on income. The question is asking for the one that is independent from income. So your answer will be autonomous. Let's go to 1.2.2, goods that are used in the production of other goods. So for you to produce other goods, now we eliminate immediate goods, we eliminate final goods. We are left with raw goods and intermediate. Which one is mostly correct? The intermediate goods are used in the production, right? Because you need to ask yourself, what are raw goods? And then what are intermediate goods? The thing that we have learned is the intermediate goods or the capital goods being used in the production of other goods. That's how you eliminate the wrong answers. Then you are left with the 2 answers. Then there must be the one that is most correct. The market where short and medium-term loans are made, right? So it's not about money. It's not about money. Good market. There are resources. There are goods being traded. Resource is factors of production. So you eliminate the 2. You are left with 2 markets that has to do with money. Capital is a long term. It has to do with money for long term. So the most correct answer will be money market. The portion of income and that is rather saved than spent is also known as what? The portion, the proportion of money that we rather save than spend it. Right? So it's about income that you get. So taxation, no. Investment, no. You are left with, if you are having income, you have 2 things to do. You spend, you save, right? So this month that you've earned, you decided that You rather save it, meaning your answer will be not marginal propensity to consume. To consume is to spend. To consume is to spend. So you decided to save, so your answer will be marginal propensity to save. You see how easy it is, grade 12, when you eliminate the wrong answer? It's easy for you to find the correct answer. The flow of production factors and goods and services between the participants. That is your real flow. Remember, the real flow has to do with the flow of factors and goods and services. Money flow is the flow of income and expenditure, and these two are wrong. The inflow of money into the economy is known as an injection. Again, you can eliminate these two. You are left with leakage and injection. A leakage is withdrawal. You are taking money out. It's an outflow of money. This one is an outflow of money. So meaning your answer will be injection, the inflow of money. Right, grade 12 for 4 minutes. Let's match the columns quickly for 4 minutes. Right, grade 12, your 4 minutes is done. Let's look at the possible answer. The first one there is, so this will be your A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. So first question there is double counting. We avoid that when we are doing our production method. Addition of intermediate goods to the national income figures will be double counting. If you are adding intermediate goods on our national income figures, that is double counting. Investment will match with A, the money spent on capital goods by businesses, right? Residual item, this one, we find it when we are doing our GDP at expenditure method. When you're doing GDP at expenditure method, we have consumption by household, we have gross capital formation, government expenditure. Then there's this item, residual item. It was introduced in grade 12. We did not have this in grade 10. And then we said, whenever there are errors taking place, we are going to record it around this residual item. So it matches with B, allows for errors and omission in GDP calculation. So residual item is where we correct our errors in the GDP calculation of expenditure method. Right, grade 12, let's look at the terminology. So you are going to have again 5 minutes to answer this one. Write the correct term after reading the statement. Your time begins now. Right, grade 12, let's look at the possible answers. The representation of continuous flow of spending, production, income between the 4 participants is a circular flow. It shows the relationship between the 4 participants. We look at the flow of spending, production, and income. The market where short-term loans and very short-term funds are saved and borrowed. That is your capital. No. It's a money market. It is harmful to the community and the government impose taxes. This good is harmful. Government will impose tax to regulate and discourage their use. Those are your demerit goods. Government spending to the citizen without any service rendered. So when government spend without any services rendered, like social grants, those are your transfer payments. The expenditure that depends on the level of income. Remember, autonomous does not depend on income. So the expenditure that depends on the level of income is your induced consumption. National figures that have taken inflation into account. Right, so we have 2 national figures. The other one is the real figure. The other one is a nominal figure. The other one is not taking inflation into account. That is a nominal figure. So the one that takes inflation into account is your real figures or the real GDP. We say it is adjusted to inflation. Real GDP is adjusted to inflation and nominal GDP is not adjusted to inflation. You are marking yourself. Right now, let's move to section B. So for all the data response question, grade 12, you'll be getting 10 minutes to respond to the data response questions. Then we'll be doing answers afterwards. You may start writing. Right, your 10 minutes is complete, grade 12. Let's look at the possible answers. What kind of economy is depicted in the diagram? It is a closed economy because there's no foreign sector. If there was a foreign sector, it was going to be an open economy. A closed economy is the one where you see business, household, and government. Open economy, there must be a foreign sector. How many floors do secular floor have? You have real floor and the money floor. So you have 2 floors. Briefly describe the term secular floor. Is a diagram indicating the flow of production, expenditure, and income in the economy. You can describe a secular flow as a flow of production, expenditure, and income. Number 4, briefly explain the significance of foreign sector in the economy. What is the importance of foreign sector in the economy? The foreign sector, you see import and export taking place there, so it makes international trade possible. And then we had a unit where we are just discussing the demand reason for international trade, and we said we don't have everything, so it means foreign sector is important because sometimes we import our key inputs. There are things that we do not have and we need, and when we export as well, we get income. So it is important because we can get money from export earnings, and also we can buy things that we don't have. The foreign sector is there to facilitate export and import of goods and services between the different countries, right? So we look at it being able to make us import and export the goods between countries. How can increase in the household spending influence the economy? So when we spend as household, what will happen? So in economics, we've learned that when one person spending, it becomes someone else's income, meaning there is a multiplier effect taking place. So when we spend, we trigger production. By spending, we trigger production, meaning goods and services will be produced. When those goods and services are produced, people are employed, and economy also grow because there's more production in a country. So these are the possible answers. Remember, anything that is relevant to today's question will be correct. If households increase their spending, it will lead to more money flowing to businesses, who will use it to reinvest in their businesses, finally resulting in the growth of the economy. So when we are spending, there will be more production as businesses are reinvesting the money that we are spending. So you can say more spending will result in more production, growing our economy. More jobs will be created as businesses expand their operation and the economy will be boosted. For this production, this growth of the economy and production to take place, people need to be hired. So more jobs will be created. When more jobs are created, that will boost our economy. So there will be more production, and then people's standard of living will improve. Then the economy will be boosted as well. So anything that is relevant to the question. Remember, the question is what? How can increase in household spending influence the economy? Right. Also, household spending increasing, it means more taxation for the government. Then the government can use their money to improve infrastructure, creating more jobs and also more development for us. Right. Let's look at the next data response question on secular flow. you are going to be given the same time again, 10 minutes to complete it. Then we mark after that. All right, grade 12, your 10 minutes begin now. You may start answering the questions. Right, let's look at the possible answers. Identify the value of MPS in the diagram. So MPS was 0.2, or you can say 20%. Name the leakage that relate to foreign sector. So you have 3 leakages. It's SMT. Your leakages are SMT for savings. Right, so both, this one is related to household and businesses. Then you have I for import. Right, so foreign sector has to do with what? Import and export. Then you have taxes. This one is related to government. This one is related to household and business, meaning import will be related to the foreign sector. So that is a leakage that is related to the foreign sector. Briefly describe the term autonomous consumption. Spending without any income, meaning you can spend from your savings, your loan. Spending that does not depend on income. The spending that is independent, it does not depend on income. Question number 4. Explain the importance of saving. Remember, saving, grade 12, is a leakage. However, if a question comes like this, explain the importance of saving in the economy. You can't say saving is not important because it is a leakage, it's a withdrawal of money. You need to answer what you are asked. Savings, it flows back into our economy as an investment. So it is important. Saving will result in more investment, increasing our national income. Remember, grade 12, we say L is equals to J, meaning leakages are equals to injection. And this gives us what? The economic equilibrium. This is the economic equilibrium, right? Now, the question can say to you, justify the economic equilibrium. So you must tell us that economic equilibrium, it means leakages are equals to injection. How does this happen? Savings will flow back into the economy. In a long run, it will result in investment. So savings flow back to the economy as an investment. Taxation, money tax taken by the government will come back as government expenditure. And then when we import, we know that there is also export earnings. So savings flow back as an investment, taxes flow back as government expenditure, import flow back as export. So savings is important for us because it will result in investment, increasing what? The money within the circulation, increasing our national income. Right, the last question. Use the MPC in the diagram to determine the value of multiplier. Show the formula and calculations. So this is our savings, 0.2. If our savings, here is given our MPC, which is 0.8. So we are going to use 0.8 to calculate our multiplier. So the formula that we are going to use is the K is equals to 1 over MPS, because already we have MPS, or we can say K is equals to 1 over 1 minus MPC, right? So it's 1 over 1 minus 0.8, and it gives us what? 1 over 0.2, this one. And then our answer will be saying K is equals to 5, even if we use this one of 1 over 1 minus MPC, because they say to us we must use the MPC, not the MPS. So you can say K is equals to 1 over 1 minus MPC, and your multiplier will be 5. Right, let's go to the next data response question. Right, you are given again 10 minutes to respond to this one. right, grade 12. Let's look at your possible answers. Identify the method of the GDP that is used. You have three methods: expenditure method, production method, and income method. So for expenditure method, where you see consumption by household, gross capital formation, government expenditure, that is the expenditure method. Where you see primary sector, secondary sector, tertiary sector, that is your production method. Where you see the sectors of production, that is your production method. Where you see compensation by employees, net operating surplus, that is what? It is your income method. So this one is started with what? Your household consumption. Name the item missing there. At A, it was household, consumption by household. So answer is household. It's consumption by household. Briefly describe the term gross fixed capital formation. That is your capital. Expenditure on assets repeatedly during the production process. So gross fixed capital is also known as investment. Just say it's an investment. Remember your GDP at expenditure method is GDP is equals to C plus I plus G plus X minus M. And then this year we introduced the residual item, even though in grade 10 we didn't have. The C is the consumption by household. The I is your gross fixed capital formation. So is the assets used in the production process, the capital that we use, that is investment. The G is the government spending. Then you have the residual item where all the errors are recorded. Then this one is for your export and import. This we can put in brackets. How can GDP be converted to GNP? So remember, GDP in South Africa will always be higher than GNP, right? So GDP in South Africa will always be higher than GNP. GDP is the total production in a country within a year. GNP, it only calculates for permanent resident. So the production and income and expenditure only of the permanent resident. If you are not a permanent resident, you are not calculated under GNP. You are calculated only on GDP. So how do we move from GDP to GNP? We must remove the income of all the people from abroad and we plus our income to South Africa from abroad. What do I mean, grade 12? So for you to move from GDP to GNP, remember GDP includes both resident and non-resident. So all the production taking place within our country, we record it on GDP. Doesn't matter. Having a teacher from Zimbabwe in South Africa, the income is going to be calculated around our GDP. Having McDonald's operating in South Africa, the income and the production is going to be calculated within our GDP. For us to get the GNP, we need to minus the income of the teacher from Zimbabwe. We need to minus the income of a company from abroad, a business, and we need to go fetch hours. If we have a teacher in Saudi Arabia teaching in Saudi Arabia from South Africa, we must bring it back now to South Africa. If we have MTN operating in other countries and it's a South African company, we need to go get that money back. So we need to plus everything from them and then we give everything that is due to them for us to get the gross national product. So gross national product, it only calculates for the permanent residents. So GNP, how do you move from GDP to GNP? You say GDP plus primary income from the rest of the world. So you are fetching everything from the rest of the world, from our companies, people who are permanent residents, who are working abroad. Then you minus primary income to the rest of the world. So all the profits and the income from people abroad, you take it back to them. Then you get GNP. Right, the other question that I can ask you is why GDP is always more than GNP in South Africa. It's because GDP includes both resident and non-resident. GNP is only residents, and you can also mention that we have more companies operating from abroad in South Africa than we have in our countries operating in other countries, that we are having our businesses operating in other countries. Why is it important for a country to calculate national income? Why are we calculating the national income? All right, we need to know. As part of the indicators, we need to know how much we have so that we are able to know the performance we can also compare. The national income figures indicate performance activities, right? So number one, to know the performance of the country between a year to year, and also to compare our prosperity level within our country, and also to compare with other countries in the developing countries. They are used to measure the level of economic growth, right, and also check our standard of living in a country. They form the basis for decision making by policymakers. So policymakers will need this information of our national income so that they are able to make proper decision. For example, if the national income is low, then the monetary policy will want maybe to increase the money supply in the circulation by reducing interest rate. So they are using the policy in order to assist in whatever that we get. So we calculate this so that the policymakers are able to make the right decisions. Right? You are marking yourself grade 12. Anything that is relevant to this, then you mark it correct. Right? Let's look at this other data response question. You are also given 10 minutes. Right, let's look at the possible answer. Give another term for compensation of employee. Those are your salaries and wages. Give one example of taxes on production. So taxes on product, it's your VAT, that is on product. On the final goods, VAT, sin tax, excess duties, those are your tax on product. Taxes on production is charged in the production processes. For example, business license, green tax, capital gain tax, payee, those are what your taxes on production. Briefly describe the term factor cost. Factor cost refers to the total cost incurred by a producer to produce goods or services, including expenses directly related to the factors of production, such as raw material, labor, and capital. So factor cost is the cost of the factors of production. So the cost or the expenses of a producer when they are producing goods and services. It has to do with your raw material, capital, and labor. So it's the cost of what? The factors of production. What is the main aim of subsidies on production? So some businesses are being subsidized so that they can produce at a lower price. To reduce the cost of production, to increase production of goods and services. So we subsidize businesses so that they can produce more at a lower cost. Calculate the GDP product at the market price. So to calculate GDP at the market price, you take GDP at the basic price, you plus taxes on a product, you minus subsidies. We always plus a tax on a product because taxes increase the price that you are going to pay in the shop, and subsidies decrease that money. Subsidies reduces the price of a product, taxes increase the price of a product. So to move from GDP at a basic price, you plus taxes on a product, you minus subsidies on a product. If we have to move from factor cost, if we had to move from factor cost to a basic price, we will say factor cost is equals to, it is factor cost plus taxes on production. This is us now moving from a factor cost to a basic price, minus subsidies on production. So now we're talking production because we are moving from where factor cost is equals to now basic prices. Basic prices. So to move from factor cost to basic price, you say factor cost plus, my apology, this is a plus, taxes on production minus subsidies on production, you get basic price. To move from basic price to market price, you say basic price plus tax on a product. Now these things are on the shelf. To get a market price, they are on the shelf. Now we say product, we no longer say production. Minus subsidies on a product, so you take your money for basic price, you plus the tax, you minus the subsidy, and then this is your answer. That's how you get your 4 full marks. Right. So this one is straightforward. The only thing that you are marking is the one that you see on the board. Right. So this is the last data response question. It covers the multiplier. Then you will be given the same minutes, 10 minutes to answer this one. Your time begins now. So you read the extract, then you answer the question. Right, grade 12, let's look at the answers that you have. Identify a term that refers to spending which does not depend on income. We've mentioned this a few times today. It is your autonomous spending. Name any participants in a closed economy, meaning closed economy, there's no foreign sector. However, you have household, business, and government. Briefly describe the term multiplier. Someone spending resulting in someone else's income. Explain the impact of an increase in savings on the multiplier. A saving is the leakage. All the leakages will decrease multiplier. If the question was taxes or import, any savings will decrease a multiplier. I mean, any leakage will decrease multiplier. Any injection will increase multiplier. So what is the impact of savings when they increase to the multiplier? It's a negative impact. If savings increase, there will be less money available to spend on local goods and services. Therefore, the value of the multiplier will be small. So it will decrease the value of the multiplier. The more you save is the more multiplier decreases. Right, draw a well-labeled graph of a multiplier using the information from the extract. So you start with your axis where you have expenditure and national income. Then you draw this Canadian line, which is line of equality. E is cost to 1. It's called a Canadian line or equilibrium line or line of equality. Then you put your consumption line, that is a consumption line. Then you put your consumption function because they're giving you 30 and MPC of 0.6. You write consumption is cost to 30 plus 0.6Y, which is your MPC, and the 30 is for investment. Then you put your investment expenditure. Your income is 75. Right, and then there it is your equilibrium. So we are going to mark you for both expenditure and national income for your axis, for this Canadian line and for the consumption line as well, and also for indicating the investment of 30 million. All right, so this is how you are going to be marked. All right. Let's look at this one as well, and then we do it for 10 minutes. Right, grade 12, your turn. Start. Let's look at the answers. Identify the curve that represents the Canadian equilibrium. That is the line of equality is E is equals to Y. That line represents Canadian equilibrium line. Give the value of original investment on the graph. So the original investment is the first investment, which is 20. Briefly describe the term multiplier effect. multiplier is when one person's spending becoming someone else's income. The multiplier effect, a small initial increase in spending produce a larger increase in the national income. That is your multiplier effect, when a small initial spending results in a larger national income. Briefly explain the impact of injection in the economy, in the value of the multiplier. We said all the injection will increase multiplier because it's the money that is spent. And when we spend money, it becomes someone else's income. Injection into the economy, such as investment, government expenditure, and export, increase the value of the multiplier by stimulating additional spending and income generation. So all the injections will increase multiplier. It can be investment, government expenditure, and export will increase multiplier. Calculate the value of multiplier using the information on the graph. Show all the calculations. So you are given information. You do have MPC, and you can also use this one. You are given income and expenditure. You can use the change. Let's look at, you have two options here. You can use change in income over change in expenditure. So this is a change in income. So change in income, you say 60 minus 40. This is the change in income over the change in expenditure or injection, which is 30 over, so this is change in what, E or J, 30 minus 20, so 20 over 10 is 2. Or you can use it this other way, where you say K is equals to 1 over 1 minus MPC, because you are given MPC 1 over 1 minus 0.5, which is 1 over 0.5, and your answer still is 2. So it doesn't matter which calculation you have used. If you have used this one, using this 0.5, this 0.5 represent MPC, then you are still correct. Or if you used this formula, you are still correct. Right, grade 12, we looked at all possible questions that you may find on your section B and section A, that is on macroeconomics. And remember, macroeconomics, you find it in question 2 and question 4 as well, also on question 1 for section A. The next time we meet again, we'll be discussing the essay that we find in circular flow, which is your 4 markets, and also some possible 2.4 and 2.5 questions. Right, grade 12, thank you for joining in today's class. See you next time.